The news day continues here on One News Now. I'm Riza Diaz. FIVOX raises alert level 3 over Taal volcano after a phreatomagmatic burst at 7 a.m. this morning. Now, this was followed by nearly continuous phreatomagmatic activity accompanied by volcanic earthquakes. FIVOX is strongly recommending residents near Taal Volcano Island and those from barangays in nearby towns to be evacuated. Now, here are the stories we're keeping our eyes on. Police will be keeping a close watch on political rallies in Metro Manila to prevent incidents of petty crimes. The NCRPO said that they will provide perimeter security at campaign activities to deter criminals from taking advantage of large crowds. This as packed crowds provide an opportunity for snatchers and pickpockets. The Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency says that marijuana has become the drug of choice for most users in the country. PDEA said that marijuana is the most abused illegal substance, while methamphetamine, hydrochloride, or shabu is the most circulated. UAAP is now back after 2 years of a hiatus. Now, the Premier Collegiate League will start off with men's basketball games for today following the opening ceremony this morning. FEU is currently facing UST, which will be followed by Adamson versus NU at 1 this afternoon. The Battle of Katipunan, Ateneo versus UP will happen at 4 p.m. De La Salle and UE will face off at 7 this evening. We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Riza Diaz. Here are the latest developments on the ongoing Russian-Ukraine conflict. Russia says that the first phase of its military operation in Ukraine is mostly complete. Russia noted that it would focus on, quote, completely liberating the Donbas region in eastern Ukraine. This indicates that Moscow may be switching to more limited objectives 1 month into the war. The Defense Ministry said Russian-backed separatists now controlled 93% of Ukraine's Luhansk region and over half of the Donetsk region. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin accused the West of trying to cancel the country's rich musical and literary culture. Putin complained of the cancellation of a number of Russian cultural events in the recent weeks, comparing it to actions taken by Nazi Germany in the 1930s. The United Nations General Assembly called for an end to the Russian invasion of Ukraine as members adopt a resolution criticizing Russia for creating a dire humanitarian situation. The resolution drafted by Ukraine and its allies received 140 votes in favor of it, while 5 countries voted against it, including Russia, Syria, North Korea, Eritrea, and Belarus. Now, 38 countries abstained. The resolution also demanded an access or aid access and civilian protection in Ukraine. Social media has played an important role in the ongoing tension between Ukraine and Russia. Bloomberg Quick Takes Alex Webb discusses this more on this video.
Let's just start with Russian propaganda and misinformation. Curious what you think sort of the role that Russia is playing in this war and whether or not they're successful in their attempts at sort of sowing disinformation.
Well, the role Russia's playing in the war, obviously, that they are being the sort of protagonists and the invader. It is harder for them to spin any message than it is for the Ukrainians. And so I think when it comes to whether they're winning the information war, they are certainly outside their borders losing it quite clearly. Ukrainians are a lot more adept. Inside their borders, it's a different story because we don't have Facebook and Instagram anymore. There is a certain amount of censorship, and there's still a lot of reliance on television news for information that is all state-controlled. The thing is that Russia has perhaps been not as fast to adapt or hasn't been as adept with the newer forms of social media like TikTok, like Instagram, as they were in 2016 when it came to the US election and, of course, Brexit vote. They had quite a long time to work out how to crack Facebook and address it properly. They're not quite as agile when it comes to working out how to use TikTok.
Why is that, Alex? I mean, what is it about TikTok that they're not able to sort of crack down on the way that they are with other apps?
Well, TikTok is clearly a different kind of social media, certainly from Facebook. It has some similarities to YouTube. It's easier to discover new content on TikTok. You might end up funneled down a kind of content bubble where you're served similar content, but there is always an element of discovery where they are serving you something a little bit newer just to see if you're interested. The algorithm serves you that. But Russia's intentions in 2022 are different from 2016. In 2016, it was really about sowing division. Didn't really necessarily matter which side ended up winning the argument. They were just trying to create an argument. This time round, it's different. Russia needs to win an argument to try and make the case that it thinks this war is justified, even though it clearly isn't. It's trying to make a case, and that is harder to do than just sort of throwing a metaphorical grenade into a debate and seeing what falls from it.
Yeah, and we're seeing a lot of Russian dissidents actually being successful in getting their message out on TikTok. When it comes to sort of getting their message out successfully, we were talking with the Deputy Minister of Digital Transformation for Ukraine, and Ukraine's really sort of used into social media in a way that we haven't seen in a war before. What's your take on their strategy and whether it's working?
There are 3 things I think they're doing really well. Firstly, the politicians and public figures are being they're shooting really good quality video that seems genuine. Of course, it is a version of propaganda. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's untrue. It's just they are pushing their particular message. And the President, Zelensky in particular, is doing this very adeptly. They are using social media to call out public companies that are still doing business in Russia and seem to have had great effect in encouraging them to pull that business from Russia. And thirdly, their soldiers and citizens on the front line are free to post things, post their, some of their firefights, some of their battles that they're having or experiences from the front line. The Russians aren't doing that, and so we have a more visceral experience of what's going on there. Now, some of that stuff isn't quite true. We don't quite know the full context, but the picture that we're being served seems to land on the Ukrainian side of the argument.
Here's a quick look at some of the day's biggest headlines. The Worldwide Fund for Nature is urging Filipinos to vote leaders who will focus on environmental issues amid the observance of Earth Hour later tonight. Now, everyone is invited to turn their lights off for an hour starting 8:30 p.m. as a symbol of commitment to save the planet. Now, despite leading recent polls, data analytics group Fitch Solutions says Bongbong Marcos Jr. is not yet secured for a win this election, noting last-minute twists and turns in the presidential race. And American R&B singer Keith Martin has passed away here in the Philippines. He was 56. And those are the top stories of the hour. Join us later at 12 noon as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on Signal Play app. Register for a free account now, www.signalplay.com, and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Riza Diaz. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.